So it has been pointed out that in our deep dive into the bird imagery of Himalayan art, we neglected to mention the sword and double-headed bird logo. Well, I didn't actually want to focus on it too much because it's rarely found in art. It's talked about a little bit, but it's not commonly found in my experience. Now we do have one painting on the Har website, and it's from a painting that is from Beijing, from Yonghegong Monastery. Now, what we're actually talking about here is we're talking about um, a symbol of a sword, primarily, and flanked by two birds with double heads. And this is a symbol which is believed and said to be painted by Sakya Pandita as a mural on one of the outer walls of Samye Monastery. And that would be back in the possibly the 13th, early 13th century. And what's unique about it is that the two birds on either side, some say that one is a duck and the other one is a parrot, and they're double-headed. And what they are representing is they're representing the two early famous translators of Buddhist texts in Tibet. One is the Kashmiri Vimalamitra, and the other is the Tibetan Vairochana. And so the double heads represent translating the Sanskrit into the Tibetan language. Now, also, there's different variations as to how this sometimes appears. So you have the two birds on either side of a sword, which is sometimes flaming, and that's above a lotus and a pond or a lake. And it is also explained that the lake represents Shantirakshita, the abbot who brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Then we have the lotus above, which represents Padmasambhava, and then we have the sword standing upright vertically, and it represents Trisongdetsen. So that's the symbolism, and that's the iconography that we see, the sword, the lotus, the lake, the two birds. Now, we do have some variations, modern variations, where sometimes a book is placed underneath the sword, which again would kind of represent Manjushri, because you have the sword and the book are the main elements for Arapachana Manjushri and Maui Senge and some of the others, Simhanada. Now, in terms of studying this, I'm sure there's many papers done on this and publications in Tibet, mainland China, and published in Tibetan. So, but the key points here and the key study topics are that it's a monastery outer wall decoration, then the actual iconography, the sword, the lotus, the pond, and the birds. And then the source literature. What is the earliest reference that Sakya Pandita did in fact paint this as a mural on a wall in Samye Monastery? Then there's also a mural inscription that is below the mural which Sakya Pandita composed and wrote under the mural. And then also what is going on with this abbot, acharya, and king trio. Now this is a common saying in Nyingma. You have its Kenlop Trisum. There's also different ways. Sometimes they put the Padmasambhava first, so it's Lop Ken Trisum instead of Kenlop. But was this a commonly known thing in the early 13th century? Is this something that Sakya Pandita would have been musing over and said, "Oh, we need a mural that represents the abbot, the acharya, Padmasambhava, and the king, Trisongdetsen"? So this is a little bit unusual, and I think it requires a little bit more research as to whether or not it's actually original to the concept of this symbolism of this mural, or whether it might have been added later. So I'm not saying either way. I'm just saying I've not read the Tibetan literature, and I've not even read the full inscription below. I believe the mural no longer exists. I believe it was destroyed at some point in the past. And then possibly there's alternate explanations, which I have not seen at this point. So anyway, I'm just trying to cover my tracks here about this sword and the double-headed birds. So the most famous thing here are the double-headed birds, and that they represent the two famous early translators of Buddhism in Tibet. So you can press the like button. You can join HAR on Patreon. You can subscribe to YouTube and Patreon. And you can also make a donation on the homepage of Himalayan Art Resources.